Everybody's saying this plugin will change loudness forever. It's a new plugin called CG2, and I just downloaded the demo. And we're going to put this up against the iZotope Maximizer because that's what it reminds me of. So the CG2 is a pretty simple interface. You have two main knobs and then some subsettings here. So let's turn it on. So the goal of this is to simply make the beat louder without adding too much distortion. Okay, so right now it's just measuring where it's at. So we're going to use decibel to keep a track on our LUFS. Okay, so short term it's looking at -11. Integrated it says -10.1. So we're going to use this value. All right, so -10.1 is where we're starting. Okay, so now let's add CG2 and that number should get smaller and smaller. All right, so we have two knobs, density, which I think this track has, but let's crank it up. So it's reshaping some of those lower midtones. Now the loudness is the key here. This is probably as far as I would push it, but let's push it further. Just to see. Just when you think this thing can't get louder, it gets louder. So now let's read the decibel levels here. Okay, so now we're looking at -9.9 on the LUFS meter. So I forgot where we started. Let me turn that back off. I think it was like 10, right? Okay, so it was -10 and then it went to 9.9. Now that's the integrated. Let's talk about the short term values though. The short term, it's a -12, and then short term after CG2 is -8.4. So you're feeling more intensity in the short form. Integrated, I believe, measures a longer amount of time. That could be off on how that's measured, but we're going to use the integrated value. So we saw that the integrated value didn't really change. Now let's use iZotope's Ozone Maximizer to these three modules. So the soft clip, I always talked about how you could push this really hard without it feeling like it's messing up your track. Only when you push it really high on the medium mode and the high mode does it sound like a distortion. And we're using the upward compression for some dynamic here and then some transient emphasis. So it doesn't just feel like we're just slamming a track. Let's also add some limiting in here. Now this is where I could hear it's a little distorted. Even if we put it on low mode, let's see where we're at. So we're at -9.7 as far as the integrated value. Let's A/B the CG2. So here's before everything. All right, here's CG2. So we're getting around 9.6 there, -9.6. Now let's add the iZotope Maximizer. All right, so isotope, I couldn't get it louder in that quick amount of adjustment than CG2. But I will say the difference is, even though it's a small amount of loudness difference in this case, I will say I like the way CG2 handles a transient. It creates like this buttery spread for the sound as opposed to like this just compromise over the transients. So let me go back to like a transient heavy part of that beat. Just listen to how it handles the impact. This is isotope. It just kind of squashes everything, whereas CG2, it doesn't squash. It almost feels like it goes like a butterfly wing. Like it does something to the mid signal, but then the sides, that's how it feels. So this, in my opinion, it's almost like the difference between like Fruity Soft Clipper and other soft clippers out there. It just creates, it doesn't sound like a compromise. Whereas Isotope Ozone sounded like I'm removing some quality in order to get louder. This just, it handles everything properly. So that's the difference that I'm hearing. But as we saw, the loudness part of it, we could get this louder. So to be fair, we could even get this even louder. Whereas Isotope, to get it louder, we're really squashing the crap out of it. So I think ultimately you can get a similar sound, but the difference that I'm hearing that will really justify a purchase for this plugin would be the fact that it's, I believe, I don't even know how much Maximizer is by itself, so I can't say cheaper, so I'm not sure. But I will say that it handles those transients similar to like a Fruity Soft Clipper. It creates this buttery saturation as opposed to, again, like this crunchy sound. Let's A/B this one more time on a different track. So here, let's use a different beat. Now we have a whole different beat, whole different priorities. And we're going to turn the plugins off first. So this beat is more smooth. It's meant to just be more like laid back. But let's see if we can make it louder. All right, so let's kick on CG2 and start messing with the knobs here. So again, to me, density does something with the low mids to where they're popping up on the side, similar to like an SSL Fusion Imager, how it has the sides button. I forget what it's called, like depth or whatever. Dimension. It adds that low frequency on the side, it feels like. So it's just widening the low mids, in my opinion. Which is a good stereo imaging tool. And then nextly, let's add the loudness here. I can feel a limiter for sure. And when you push it hard enough, you hear that saturation. Now this would be OD loud, so let's pull it back. And again, the detail that I'm hearing for those who are like on the edge of buying this is the detail is that it doesn't sound compromising. That's the thing. Loudness, you could probably get the same loudness with a couple tools that you may have, but it doesn't sound like it's sacrificing the quality of your track. All right, so we're hitting at -9.3. Now let's use the isotope. See if we can get it remotely close. Now, because this track is smoother, we can saturate it more without it sounding super distorted. See, right about at 1.5, we start hearing that clipping distortion. So that is 9.2 on the isotope. Let's keep these numbers ready. So CG2 says, So the common difference that I keep getting is that zero point 0.1 LUFS and loudness difference. And again, we can push CG2 even further to be louder. So at minimum, I'd say it's a 0.1 difference in terms of that integrated LUFS value. Okay, as far as that I would push the sound, I should say, that's as far as I would push the sound. Okay, so it's right at that same level. Okay, so that's the difference, but let's hear what it does to the transients on this beat. Here's before. Let's crank on the CG2. So to my ear, what it does is it distributes the distortion, like it distributes the saturation. So instead of just being centered and everything just piling up and saturating, it feels like it spreads the frequencies and then saturates it to try to disseminate, if that's even the word, some of the energy in the track. That's what it feels like. Let me see if I can analyze this with some kind of imager to see if our width changes. So here's before CG2. And then let's try after. Yeah, we definitely got some width. Yeah, this is a wider range. So it's definitely widening the track to let the sides absorb some of that energy. And it also makes it feel bigger, whereas the maximizer, I'm not sure it widens track. See what happens if you widen the track. All right, let's do one more final check. So on the CG2, we're going to listen to those transients of the 808. So everything feels very smooth and polished. Now let's try the maximizer. It just doesn't do the same thing to the highs, and it's just not the same thing. It is very, 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 very subtle, but the main thing that I could hear on the CG2 is that it definitely widens the track a little bit. And like I said, it just does something to where it spreads the emphasis of those transients to where it doesn't sound like a big old crunch in the middle. So that's what I'm hearing. Now, is this supposed to be a review? No, but I just wanted to put you guys up on keeping you current on the plugins people are talking about. Shout out to Mixbus TV who put me onto the awareness of this plugin even existing, and shout out to everybody else's video. But for me, this would be, how do I put this? Like if you don't have Isotope and FabFilter and all that stuff, this might be a plugin you would just, is your go-to quick to get you there plugin, almost like how producers run their beats through Fruity Soft Clipper and they don't worry about all the other stuff. So this would be your like quick to get you there plugin, in my opinion. Now, if you already have a plugin chain to where you're invested and you already have like 5 of the go-to plugins, this would be such a nuanced difference that you really have to justify the difference if you already can create this sound. It doesn't mean don't shop with the company, because I have multiple plugins from this company and that I bought. I bought Metric, Halo, and actually that's the only one I bought, but this one I'm considering buying as well. Hopefully the sale continues, but that's my synopsis and that's my point of view on if you guys should grab this. So again, If you need that quick get you there plugin, this is the plugin. It just gets you there. If you already have a plugin chain, this would be hard to justify as far as like what it actually does and the difference. And it depends on what you guys have at home in terms of plugins. And if you're a plugin, if you have 2,000 something plugins like I do, then this is just a drop in the bucket of your 20,000 plugins that you're going to have. I have 2,100 plugins just on this one computer. So that's my view. So go support the company. They make really, really dope stuff. All right, guys. Peace.